really think that 2025 is going to be one of the best years for men's fashion ever, considering the fact that I feel like men's fashion and menswear right now is more popular than it's ever been in the 2000s. I think it has a stronger pull. I think it has more of a cult following than it ever has. And I also think with technology, as well as this huge push on social media to be more creative with their style, and also just the readily available knowledge on how to buy smart, on how to style better, on how to find your own unique look, as well as the access that brands directly have with the consumer now, as opposed to how fashion used to be way back when. So the brands are no longer controlled by bigger box stores, corporate numbers, and can ultimately sell what they want, design what they want, making the current fashion landscape of 2025 one of the best that it's ever been in menswear and men's fashion history. These days we have more access to fashion content than we've ever had, and because of access to buying online from other countries as well as the ease of purchase power, we have access to more product than we've ever had before. And these are just a few reasons why fashion is going to become more fun, more creative, more exciting, which is why I think 2025 is going to be peak in the men's fashion and menswear scene to date. And it's been a little while since I've done a menswear and men's fashion trend video, because we don't really talk too much about trends on this channel. We talk more so about cultivating a certain look, a certain type of style, because to me, trends are secondary to style, they're secondary to fashion. Trends and fashion are not synonymous in my book. Trends just happen to be one subcategory of fashion in my opinion, which is why I rarely put too much stress on them. But it's the beginning of the year, we're now entering 2025, and I thought it would be cool to kind of do a follow-up on last year's 2024 men's fashion trend video with some updates and kind of see what's going on and see what's changed. So with that being said, why don't we get right into the men's fashion trends you should know about for 2025. Number one, we're going to start off with the most prevalent and kind of the most obvious men's fashion trend that is coming into popularity this year. This is probably going to be one of the main arcs this year, if not the main arc, and it definitely will continue to grow in 2026, but that trend is tailoring. And tailoring is a very interesting and very broad term that extends not just from suiting, but also to tailored dress pants, to tailored jackets, to tailored shirts, tailored overcoats, and anything within that kind of very vintage, heritage style kind of feel, anything that's pretty dressy, so to speak. We're talking dress shirts, we're talking ties, even ascots. I've seen a lot of that coming into play. And there's a couple of reasons why this has come into popularity a lot. The first reason being that we have had a very relaxed kind of dress code from a societal standpoint for about 15 to 20 years now. A lot of us have grown up with that kind of very streetwear look. We've seen most of what can happen with streetwear, and we grew up idolizing what was the adult style of tailoring. We idolized it on TV, from movies, corporate executives. I mean, we were exposed to a lot of tailoring, and we are now in the position where we're kind of able to not only afford that, but also have access to it within the thrifting culture, which has also grown so much in the past couple of years, and is another reason why tailoring is going to become a huge thing, because you pretty much can go to any thrift store and pick up a sports coat or a blazer for 10, 15, even suits for 20 bucks. Tailoring right now is easier to access than it ever has been, and it is something fresh and new to the men's fashion community that grew up on social media, that grew up on content creation, that grew up on content consumption for that matter. And that's only going to get stronger and stronger in 2025 and 2026. And it's kind of going to be like an anti-dress code from the societal norm that is in play in the fashion landscape. And I, for one, am so excited about it. I mean, a lot of you guys know that in my day job, I am a made-to-measure and custom tailor. I have been doing tailoring for 8, almost 9 years now. And it's just something that I've always been interested in. And at the end of the day, wearing something tailored just feels like a suit of armor. It feels good. It makes you feel powerful. And I can't wait for that to be normal in our society and just see how it's going to be manipulated with all of the streetwear influence that has been abundant the past 15 to 20 years or so. For the second trend that I want everybody to be aware of for menswear and men's fashion in 2025 is I feel like straight and slim jeans are going to come back. And I think they're going to come back pretty heavy in certain menswear communities opportunities, like the real niche category, just because we've been seeing baggy pants and baggy jeans now for about 10 years already or so. And I feel like the popularity of them is starting to crest, and I don't think they're going out anytime soon. But I do think that we're gonna start seeing the seedlings of slim pants and slim jeans coming back. I mean, we've already seen it on runways. We see it on high-level influencers. And also, again, with the resurgence of heritage style and heritage-inspired menswear and men's fashion, a lot of those garments pants were cut pretty straight or pretty slim. It really wasn't until the 80s and the 90s when things were super duper baggy the way that they are now. Heritage style really speaks everything from like the mid 1930s to about the 70s or so. And the garments were pretty slim in this era, especially in the 60s. And I think because of the popularity of those vintage garments, we're gonna start to really see people gravitate towards streamlined cuts, a little bit more of like a timeless kind of feel. And we're gonna kind of go back to that era of the super straight, very streamlined, very clean silhouettes, which I think in part is also due to nostalgia. And I also think that because of the staying power that these garments have, as well as the ease of brands being able to sell these types of garments in these types of fits, I really think we're gonna start to see slimmer pants and slimmer jeans come right back into trend. And I'm not talking about the super skinny jeans that everybody was wearing way back when, where they were so skin tight you could see the calf muscle. Listen, we were all guilty of it, we all did it, but I don't think we're gonna be going back to that anytime soon. I wouldn't be surprised if we do eventually get back there, but I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon. This is not what I'm talking about. But yeah, I definitely think 2025 is gonna be the year that we start to see the seeds of the slim straight or the straight or even just the bare bones slim jean or slim pant come back into trend. Next up, I wanna talk about a menswear and men's fashion trend that is very early in the stages, and it's not necessarily a 2025 trend. I don't think it's gonna crest at all this year. I think we're gonna start to see the super early stages, and it's only going to manifest for 2026, 2027, 2028. And the fashion trend in question is motorsport or racing gear. The increasing popularity of motorsport, not just in a global society standpoint, but also in American culture. Organized motorsport has become a lot more of a conversational topic in the United States of America, and has also stemmed into different facets of culture and different facets of content. And we're already starting to see motorsport inspired garments in high-end luxury runway shows like Louis Vuitton. Ferrari literally did their own runway show with their own fashion label, I believe a year ago or two, and it was really, really good. We even have smaller niche brands like Libero, whose name was literally grown on a racer inspired looking jacket, namely the Le Mans jacket, which is a racer jacket that is completely constructed of high quality wool with the leather racer stripe in a contrast color. And this jacket is just one prime example of motorsport inspired menswear and men's fashion in a luxury sense. I mean, even celebrities have been wearing motorsport inspired gear for about a year and a half now, like Drake, for example. Don Toliver's whole album was based off of a motorsport aesthetic. A$AP Rocky, who is a cultural fashion icon literally, is now the creative director for the entirety of F1 merchandise, as well as the strengthening of the Puma F1 line. And speaking of Formula One, there's also the fact that the next American team in Formula One that's gonna join in 2026 is the Cadillac or General Motors team, which is gonna bring a sense of patriotism to the sport that most famously lacked a team for America to really find pride in, because historically the Haas team has not really done so well. And F1 and motorsports themselves aside, we also have movies that have came out or are coming out, such as the Brad Pitt F1 movie, which I believe comes out this year, the Lamborghini and Ferrari movies of last year. I mean, anything that has to do with the automotive sense that's associated with a certain type of glorification. These are all the makings of a trend in the super early stages. And this is the same exact feeling that I got with the whole Western resurgence when it first started to come out, and everybody told me I was crazy. But I definitely think that motorsport should be on your radar if you really enjoy the whole idea of trend spotting and enjoy incorporating trendy garments into your wardrobe. The next trend that I see becoming super popular in 2025 is not exactly an aesthetic or visual trend, but it's more so a consumerism trend, kind of like how Japanese garments have been trendy for a long time, regardless of how they look or regardless of what garment they are. And akin to that, I think Made in America garments, literally anything made in America in menswear and men's fashion is going to become popular in 2025. I think the term Made in America is going to strengthen its core in 2025's menswear and men's fashion landscape, especially considering that this year there are likely going to be a lot more tariffs placed on imports. So not just clothing, but packaging, trims, details like buttons, rivets, embroideries, threads, literally everything from the ground up is going to become more expensive to import, which is why Made in America is probably going to become a lot more popular, not just because it's something that the fashion community has been crying out for a long time, but also just based out of necessity in the balance of cost and finance. And there are quite a few brands that are spearheading Made in America, namely one of my favorite brands, which is Buck Mason. And recently what Buck Mason did was they actually purchased and revitalized an entire knitting mill in Monton, Pennsylvania. They hired everybody back. They purchased a sewing facility about a mile away from this knitting mill, giving jobs back to the community, taking quality control into their own hands by purchasing a mill that's easily accessible within the States, that is cut and sewn literally right on premises, all while maintaining an ease of cost that, while it's not cheap, it is fair and it is accessible for people who want to purchase Made in America luxury garments at that level. I myself purchase a lot of Buck Mason garments. I love Buck Mason. I think what they're doing for the American fashion industry is super impressive. I think it's admirable, and I love that they're making their own mark in this pivotal stage of menswear and men's fashion and spearheading the charge of what is Made in America fashion. You've also got another one of my favorite brands, which is Left Field NYC, which for a very long time has been manufacturing some of the best, if not the best, Made in America raw selvage denim, as well as not just Made in America, but made in New York City knitwear, which is unlike anything I've ever heard of. And these garments are not just made in America, but they are of some of the highest caliber of construction, of style, and of longevity that you could ever find in a men's fashion garment. Born and raised in Queens, Left Field NYC is a brand that prides itself in its Made in America foundation and continues to evolve that subcategory of fashion into something great, into something powerful, which is why I urge everybody to at least give Left Field NYC a try if you can. For the last trend, we're going to continue to see 90s inspired sportswear, 90s inspired fashion. We're going to continue to see wider, baggier silhouettes. We're going to continue to see people wearing flare jeans. We're going to continue to see people wearing oversized jackets and all of these things. But I do think either this year or next year, it's going to really start to kind of die down and slim just a little bit. I think we've already seen garments get as wide as they can. I don't think they can get any wider than they already are. And again, fashion's nature is to always go against the grain of what's popular, and then everybody else follows suit. So I think we're going to start to see people kind of taking it in a little bit. And while they are still going to be quite wide and quite voluminous, I think garments themselves are going to kind of start to scale down. And putting aesthetics and everything aside, I think brands are going to also push for this, because using a lot of extra fabric for one garment as opposed to using less fabric to make multiple garments ends up becoming pretty expensive for the brand itself, which is why brands really usually don't like to make bigger or wider garments, because it is costly for them. So they're going to want to push for using less fabric. They're going to want to push for people to wear slimmer silhouettes, so this way they can get away with charging the same, if not more, for garments while using a ton less fabric. And I think that's exactly what's happening with the baggier or wider silhouettes of men's fashion. Doubling down on what I said earlier in the video, when slimmer jeans and slimmer pants are probably going to start to come back a lot sooner than you guys think. But yeah, guys, that about wraps up today's video for the men's fashion trends you should be aware of for 2025. I know there's a lot of curveballs and a lot of interesting ones in here, but a lot of you guys know I do things pretty unconventionally, and if you're new to this channel, first off, welcome to the channel. We do things a little differently here. And guys, I've been working in fashion for pretty much my whole life at this point, so I like to think that I can make an educated guess on here. But if you guys have any other fashion trends that you want to know, or if you disagree with me even, let me know in the comments. Let me know why, because I always say I love to learn just as much from you guys as you guys learn from me. And I know I definitely missed quite a few that I didn't get to talk about in this video. Maybe we'll do a part 2, who knows, but definitely drop down in the comments. Let me know your guys' thoughts, what you're feeling for 2025. And most of all, guys, Happy New Year. Thank you so much for spending your time watching this video in the early days of 2025. I really appreciate it, and I could not be more thankful for you guys. So with that being being said, thank you guys again, and I'll see you next week.